All right, let's get straight into it. Welcome to today's explainer. We are treating this session like a high-stakes client brief, literally diving deep into the Cambridge AS and A-level Arabic 9680 paper 4 mark scheme. And we're going after the holy grail here, that 18 to 19 thoroughly solid blueprint. So here's the harsh reality. Most students completely bleed easy marks on paper 4. Why? Because they treat it like just another casual essay. But honestly, if you look closely at the mark scheme, it doesn't want an essay, it demands the absolute precision of a professional corporate pitch. To help us kind of visualize this, let's imagine two hypothetical junior consultants trying to crack this exact exam. First up, we've got Alex. Now, Alex is brilliant at finding excellent data points, right? But he has a terrible habit of delivering really poor executive summaries, just a massive data dump. On the flip side, we have Sam. Sam is an incredibly persuasive speaker, super charismatic on paper, but constantly lacks that physical asset in textual backing. The evidence just isn't there. Over the course of this explainer, we're going to see exactly how the mark scheme essentially forces their approach, and yours, by the way, to transform into an elite, high-scoring strategy.
So here's the game plan for today. 1. The brief core concepts. 2. The structural strategy debate. 3. Fixing the pitch. 4. We'll do a live audit workshop. And finally, 5. Closing the deal.
All right, phase 1, the brief, core concepts. Listen to this. The senior examiner actually noted that most students lose easy marks on paper 4. But the whole point of today is that with this strategic blueprint, you absolutely won't be one of them. Seriously, the examiners are practically begging candidates to structure their reasoning logically. It's like a giant puzzle, and once you understand the core principles, the actual academic benchmarks of the assessment framework, getting an 18 or 19 out of 20, it stops being this mysterious guessing game and actually becomes a predictable, highly methodical outcome. You're engineering your score. Let's break down exactly what they're grading you on. The assessment objectives for paper 4 target 3 very distinct cognitive domains. Think of these as compliance standards. First up, we have knowledge and understanding. That's assessment objective 1 or AO1. Next, we've got analysis, which is AO2. And finally, evaluation, AO3. Now, remember our consultants? This breakdown highlights exactly where they're dropping the ball. Alex, for instance, just dumps a ton of Arabic text and raw facts onto the page. That's pure AO1, but zero analysis or evaluation. Sam, on the other hand, writes these beautiful, highly persuasive conclusions, pure AO3, but provides literally zero knowledge or textual data to back it up. If you want to be categorized as a thoroughly solid candidate, you have to demonstrate total compliance across all 3 of these domains at the exact same time.
Moving on to part 2, structural strategy debate. Okay, let's picture Alex and Sam standing in front of a whiteboard, fiercely debating how to optimize their presentation. Alex is totally obsessed with finding the one single correct answer hidden in the stimulus material. Meanwhile, Sam is just trying to spin a compelling narrative. The actual solution to their debate? It's something called the method mark strategy. Guys, this is the absolute secret to Cambridge exams. The examiners aren't just looking for the right answer. They award marks for your procedural framework. You secure points systematically for logical processing and having clear working, regardless of whatever final debated conclusions you arrive at. Basically, if your working is clear and your methodology is totally sound, you are accumulating marks the whole time. Even if your final executive summary leaves room for legitimate debate, you're still winning.
So, the absolutely crucial thing here is implementing a system that you can repeat over and over. When you're tackling these really complex Arabic stimulus materials, you literally have to follow a standardized sequence. Here it is. Step 1. Identify the key elements from the text. Step 2. Apply relevant principles to those specific elements. Step 3. Execute your analysis, making sure your working is crystal clear. Step 4. Verify your results. And finally, Step 5. Present the information in the correct format. If our consultants, and you, just follow these 5 steps, you naturally blend the data, the analysis, and the persuasion into one cohesive, bulletproof pitch. Now, I know that in the heat of the exam room, your brain is going to need a shortcut. Panic sets in, right? So here is a fantastic mnemonic hack to basically lock this procedural framework into your memory. IAEVP. Identify, apply, execute, verify, present. You can remember it as in any exam, verify precisely, or whatever phrasing works best for your brain. Seriously, writing IAEVP right at the top of your rough working paper the literal second the exam begins, it provides a brilliant strategic anchor so you don't lose your way. And that brings us to a stark contrast that the principal examiner reports highlight literally year after year. It's superficial breadth versus analytical depth. Now, superficial breadth is a classic amateur's trap. It's when you write a tiny, tiny bit about 10 different things you randomly found in the Arabic text. You're just skimming the surface. Let me tell you, the 18 to 19 mark scheme actively punishes that scattered approach. It really does. The true executive strategy, that's analytical depth. You need to select just the most critical pieces of evidence and drill all the way down into them with really logical, tightly structured reasoning. Less is more as long as it's deep. All right, part 3, fixing the pitch.
Quick pause here. Just as corporate consultants need ongoing training to stay sharp in their field, navigating these specific exams requires constant ongoing refinement. So, to ensure your academic portfolio remains highly competitive, you're definitely going to want to subscribe to the channel Ace the Exams. That's at the handle @Ace the Exams. And make sure you enable those notifications. They drop some genuinely fantastic weekly consulting insights, and honestly, staying plugged into that kind of professional development ensures you aren't leaving any easy marks on the table. Okay, let's get back to fixing our mock proposal.
Let's imagine for a second that Alex and Sam's draft was just one single massive block of text. We've all seen them. Totally unreadable, right? Well, presentation of information in Paper 4 follows incredibly strict conventions. You absolutely need proper headings, you must use correct terminology, and you need appropriate formats right alongside really clear annotation. This is exactly where the Peel formatting matrix comes into play perfectly. You know it. Point, evidence, explanation, link. Every single paragraph you write must have a super clear point, evidence extracted directly from the Arabic texts, an analytical explanation of what that evidence actually means, and finally, a solid link right back to the core question. Your syntax matters just as much as the substance of what you're saying.
Which brings us to section 4, the live audit workshop.
Okay, I want you to imagine you're handed a really dense Arabic text block, and you have exactly 60 seconds on the clock to extract the highest value insights. The timer is ticking. When doing this, most students completely get trapped in that outer descriptive level of understanding. They just spend the whole time summarizing what the text physically says. But to hit that thoroughly solid mark, your brain needs to instantly bypass the descriptive layer. You have to jump straight into the analytical layer, asking yourself, okay, what does this data actually mean? And then finally, plunge all the way into the deep evaluative core, asking, wait, how reliable is this information anyway?
Now, we need to conduct a major risk assessment here, because there is one super simple mistake that consistently destroys a candidate's structural credibility. The principal examiner reports state, unequivocally, like they literally spell this out, that candidates frequently confuse key terminology. Listen, you cannot just throw complex Arabic literary or analytical terms into your response just to sound smart. It doesn't work. You must always define your terms before using them in an extended response. Think about it. If you don't establish the baseline definition, the examiner just assumes you're guessing, and suddenly your entire argument just collapses like a house of cards. So, to ensure you are totally insulated from that risk, let's rapidly fire through the top 3 examiner warnings, straight from the past data. Number 1. Candidates totally confuse cause and effect in their analysis, basically getting it backwards. Number 2, they forget format and presentation and just revert to messy, unstructured thoughts under pressure. And number 3, this is huge. Answers are not specific to the context given. Look, if the exam provides a specific Arabic stimulus, your answer has to be deeply rooted in that exact context. You absolutely cannot just copy-paste a memorized essay you wrote 3 weeks ago. You have to tailor your pitch exactly to the client's brief in front of you.
And finally, section 5, closing the deal. Here is the master key for those higher order assessment objectives, the matrix of evaluation. When you are sitting there writing your final paragraphs, you must evaluate the quality of the evidence you've been discussing. How do you do that? Well, you systematically identify the limitations of the source text. Nothing is perfect, right? Then you pinpoint the assumptions made by the author or the data. Next, you offer alternative interpretations of those same facts. And finally, you explicitly state the effect these variables have on your overall conclusions. Seriously, applying this matrix seamlessly transforms a pretty good essay into an elite executive-level document. Which leaves us with one final, really provocative question. Is your strategy thoroughly solid? Because honestly, you now possess the exact blueprint to deconstruct Paper 4 like a seasoned corporate consultant. But as we all know, just knowing the strategy isn't enough. You actually have to go out and execute it. So to keep refining that execution, absolutely consider subscribing to @AceTheExams, enable that notification bell, and hey, feel free to drop a comment below with your current academic level and your target subject. It really helps tailor future insights for you. Think about it. If an examiner is your ultimate client, what is your very next pitch going to look like when you attack those past papers? Get out there and start practicing.